If you feel blocked, burnt out, or find yourself blaming others, you do not want to miss this episode because I'm going to be guiding you on how to break through your defensive cocoon. So stay tuned.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human journey, spiritual worlds, through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Hello and welcome back, my strong, spiritual, sensitive people. I'm so excited to be with you. And we're starting a new year. And to me, we want to start a new year being able to break free from that which holds us back, which why today is all about supporting you to break out of the defensive cocoon we find ourselves in when we are feeling blocked, when we are blaming others for how we feel, and really when you are just burnt out and are really struggling to be here in ways. And so I want to honor how difficult this can feel when you're experiencing this in life. I want to also bring some normalcy to it. And what I'll say is I feel like more than ever, I am seeing amazing people that I admire, that are just incredible, loving, good, wise people who are really struggling right now. And if you are feeling this way, you're not alone, and you're going to hear me repeat that there is nothing wrong with you. What brings me sorrow about this is that these people that I know, that I've seen and witnessed where they're struggling, there is so much struggle that they feel that, in their words, that life is quote unquote killing them. And these are amazing people. I can't imagine the world without them. And they're telling me things like they would be okay if their life ended right now, or if a stray bullet hit them, they would be fine with that. And that is not okay to remain in that place. Now, I understand the human aspect of it. I don't want to say it's not okay to feel that way, because we feel what we feel. It's just not the truth and of life for us. We get to that point when we feel that there's no end in sight, and there is an end in sight. And so this place where we cannot find hope is a place that I lovingly call our defensive cocoon. And I truly know what this place is like. I have been there. It's a place where you feel lost, untethered, alone. You're suffering with no end in sight. And it is not a fun place to feel stuck in. And I'm here to let you know that there absolutely is an end in sight, because this darkness is actually a normal part of our human experience when you are on a journey where you are meant to experience this level of ego deaths, layers and layers of ego deaths that ultimately frees you so you can flourish. So I get it. You may say, well, so-and-so doesn't go through anything like this. Well, their journey may not be in this lifetime about freeing themselves from the ego in order that they can flourish in mind, body, spirit, and emotion. And you, my sensitive souls, who are listening to this, are the ones that are meant to experience this expansiveness. That's why you were built with the sensitivity, and that's why you are feeling the depths of what you are feeling. And during this phase, you are confronted with block after block after block, because what your essence is learning is that the way your ego has seen, understood, and took action in the world will no longer get you to where you want to go. And you will also likely experience that blocks that you have been unwilling to address are now coming to a head. And again, this is what I'm seeing for so many people, because these blocks can no longer be ignored. And the truth is, they may have even spread to other areas of your life. And what these blocks are, they're simply aspects of yourself where you haven't learned to fully allow love in towards yourself. And I know that sounds really simplistic, and it sounds maybe Pollyanna-ish, but our journey, our psychological journey, is remembering the love and power and expansiveness that we are. And so there is this spiritual piece that can come into play to support us to grow into our expansiveness. And see, what I think that we miss, especially as spiritual people, is that you can be positive, you can be a grateful person, but the area you typically are unconscious about not allowing love in will reverberate, will expand and grow if you aren't willing to address it, despite you being an amazing person. And this is happening not at all to hurt you, but so you have to face it, because this is what true love does. True love is not about making things all nice and easy. I know we're getting this confused today in parenting, where we're making everything super simple for our kids and they never have to struggle. And that is doing a disservice to them, as it does a disservice to ourselves when we aren't able to be able to know how to go in towards our challenges. And this is a skill that we all must learn and have to build for ourselves individually. And so the divine love wants you to know all aspects of the love that you are, and is willing to make things more and more challenging until you are willing to learn to address this aspect within yourself. And for some of us, we can tolerate a lot of pain. We can tolerate a lot of things going sideways and not how we want them, and hanging on to this defensive cocoon. And it's when we get to this point where we don't know how to move on that we can break through that defensive cocoon. And so that's what I want to share with you more in this episode. And let's be clear, what is at stake if you don't do this is that the hurt, the pain, the challenge reverberates into other areas within your life. And I'm talking your relationship with your spouse, your partner, and especially how these unaddressed blocks get passed on to our children. So just a moment ago, I said there's this parenting piece where we're worried about allowing our kids to experience pain or challenges. And I will raise my hand. I was there until I could see the disservice that was doing, because we don't empower our children when we do that. And so then what happens is, whatever this unprocessed piece is within us that we feel we must overly protect and not believe in our own children's wisdom and resilience, then these unhealthy patterns that keep us out of alignment with not only our truth and wisdom, but seeing that in others gets passed down. And this is when it really becomes problematic, because what happens is that the unaddressed pattern not only has to be dealt with within your life, but now within your child's life. And now This gives your ego even more for it to use to distract you from away from where your where your true power lies, which is within you. So your ego is going, if you see an unhealthy pattern in your kid, I mean, we all do this. We're going to get focused on your child. But if you do this without also including what is going on within yourself, your child and you, or your relationship, or whatever area is going to, that has been blocked, is going to stay that way. And here's why. Let's use this example of a child where this gets passed down. The focus on your child becomes even more exasperated if the pattern in your child is, let's say, reminding you of someone else in your life. And so now your ego is like, oh, well, here is this unhealthy pattern in my spouse or my ex. And now, great, my kid has it and it's all that person's fault. And here's the deal. Even though you may be correct about that this unhealthy pattern has been passed down from someone else than you, what you are ignoring that is critical to this awakening is the part of you that initially tolerated the pattern for what hasn't worked for you, that has caused you pain. And it's guiding you to awaken to see this, because this is where your truth, love, and power is waiting for you to reclaim. Because this part of you, let me tell you, has a very different way it would address what is going on within you and your life. But the defensive cocoon of blame won't allow you to see that part. And so the more we lean into blame, the more you're going to remain stuck and struggling. And you're questioning the way your life is and keep going about life in a way that makes you experience burnout, pushing to try to force things to go the way your ego tells you they should go. And your block is believing with absolute certainty that your ego is right. And I am in no way saying that I am above this behavior. I know the blame game very well. When I play it, my ego feels very self-righteous and I become unhappy. Why do I become unhappy? Because I'm giving away my power. I'm not taking responsibility for where I am meant to be vulnerable with myself, with my relationship to myself, so that I can take responsibility where I need to grow, evolve, and realign with my truth. And in game, it's all about protecting my ego. By projecting my responsibility for an aspect of my life onto someone else, I blame them for how they quote unquote made me feel. Or the ego will say, oh, well, I'll feel better when X happens, when Y changes in my life. And we blame our circumstances and others as a way to align with our ego so we don't have to see where there's room for us to grow. And so we don't grow and we remain blocked. And then we're pissed off that we're stuck and we're frustrated and we're tired. Opportunity to witness my ego in action, playing the blame game recently, when I found myself complaining wholeheartedly to my husband about a family member and how they were communicating to me. And I was so mad about this and it was so tied into making them wrong. You know, when your ego grabs a hold of making someone wrong and just plays it out over and over in your mind and you can't let it go. Yeah, that's what my ego was doing. It was like my ego had this delicious bone that it could not let go of and wanted to reinforce over and over how wrong this other person is. Well, that is a great signal that the ego is at play so that it can justify my past feelings of hurt or being wronged. And that is when I realized it's like, okay, I'm normally not a complainer, and here I am telling this story to my husband, not once, not twice, but probably 3 or 4 times, right? Something's going on. And it has nothing to do with the other person, as much as my ego wants to say it is. this is about me. See, blame is choosing the short term, aligning with the ego so it soothes my ego. So I don't have to worry about where I need to grow, where I don't have to where my ego won't make me feel wrong. And I'm choosing that over a life filled with greater ease and joy in the long term if I choose my ego. So this reminded me of the gospel of truth. And I've shared with you in this podcast, I'm perfectly divine. I love looking at different sacred texts. The gospel of truth is one of the codexes from the Nag Hammadi, and it speaks about how our forgetting gets us into a fog that holds us captive. And I am telling you, it was like my ego so wanted to confirm my sense of separation from this person so that I could feel correct. And this fog just kept me from seeing the humanity and the divinity in this other. The fog of separation keeps us more and more separate. And what do I get out of creating this separation? What do I get out of fueling this separation? It's that need to be right over seeing the love in another. But me holding on to pain rather than forgive, as well as take responsibility for my own piece to the dynamic. Now, my ego is right there saying, this person's been weird with you. Their communication is odd and off. But hey, I am the one perceiving it as odd. And I'm utilizing that to affirm why I feel a sense of disconnection with them. And so I could just keep turning up the dial onto that. And the reality is that because of past dynamics with this person, I am the one who is communicating in a confusing manner, tiptoeing around them rather than just being normal. That was me. I led that dynamic with my energy. And I've shared in a previous conversation, previous episode, how our energy, just how we can show up, can express that regardless of our words. And so in order for me to get out of the defensive cocoon, I need to start with forgiving both this other person and me for the ways we faltered and caused hurt, even though we had no idea we were doing it, due to our own insecurities and pain. And then that's the opportunity for me to consciously go to the part of me that's been hurt and learn to address that in a way that empowers that part of me to remember not only my truth, but the truth of this other person as loving, as just doing the best that they can, as communicating weirdly, as we all do sometimes, including myself, and to let it go. And that's how we will begin to break out of the defensive cocoon. And you are doing this not just for you, not just for the other person, but to realign with the divinity within you. Because that is when you will feel your best. That is when you will feel at ease. That is when you will feel joy. Which is why the antidote to blame is vulnerability. The vulnerability to look within to see what your ego is getting out of creating a chasm between you and another. All that judgment that we do is just creating a chasm of separation. It's the fog. And to be able to see, despite how the ego wants to fog things up, and know that when the fog appears, it's an opportunity to grow. And the vulnerability to lean into that fog, even though you can't see clearly, you're going to lean in and choose love because you know the love is there. Despite the fog, it's there. And so it's vulnerable to look at where we may have gotten things out of alignment, things gone sideways. But remember, this is our path to remembering our divinity. So even though we make mistakes in our human expression and our human challenges and going about life, it's divinely aligned to support us to remember the truth of who we are and the truth of who everyone is. It helps us remember that we get to be wrong in order to remember more love. And others get to be wrong as well. And they are still love. The other option is to remain feeling right according to your ego, but have outcomes that are opposite of living the life that you truly want for yourself. So vulnerability is this power, is this strength, is this ability to reach toward your ultimate desired outcome despite hurt, pain, and challenges, despite the stories of your ego telling you how right you are. And you lean into love rather than what your ego desires you to do, which is to double down on why you are right and the other person is wrong. Of the gospel of truth that was shared about the fog that and how it keeps us separated from one another is how when it occurs, we can't, our ego won't allow us to find our way back to love. And that's why we're in this defensive cocoon. But it doesn't mean that outside the cocoon, the love isn't present, right? So in the defensive cocoon, we try to prove ourselves, to make ourselves feel right, rather than turn towards the love. And here's the words of the gospel of truth. Turn towards a love that is unchanging and unperturbed. Wow. I mean, imagine turning to a love that is unchanging and unperturbed rather than trying to soothe our egos when someone is mad at us or we are blaming another. I mean, certainly in traditional Christianity, that is not how I've been taught about what love is. The version of God that I was taught gets perturbed and gets mad and can be punishing. And in this gospel of truth, that's saying this is a love that is unchanging and unperturbed, because that is a love that is wiser than us, that is more expansive than us, and that wants us to remember that we are a part of that love. So I know firsthand what it feels like when life is hard. When it feels like no matter what you do, you remain stuck, or worse yet, you take one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, 10 steps back. The struggling, the being in pain. And this tends to occur so that you can see that every which way that you have gone to resolve the situation, that you are using an outdated version of you, an outdated version with layers of ego that are ready to be dissolved. Naturally dissolve when we are willing to go within and honor with love and compassion how we need to take responsibility for expanding more into our truth. So the good news is that when you are in the struggle, is that the struggle is for you to crack open the hard shell the ego has trapped you in, that is depleting you, is burning you out, in order for you to connect more to your truth, love, and power. And this will arise within you and become more and more resilient and strong. And that's what creates the breakthrough from the cocoon. So when life feels hard, where it's to the point where you don't care if you live, that, my beautiful soul, is the tipping point where if you allow it, your real emerge, because you will see that the ego tactics no longer work for you. So listen to what you are saying to yourself. If you're saying, I can't go on living this way, it's true. This way is the ego way, and you are wanting to live with greater love. I can't go on with how things are because you're meant to change them and you have the power to change them. It's just not going to be the way your ego thinks it is. It's not going to be the way of your ego. And so we've been flattened. Maybe you feel flattened, crushed. It feels like there's nothing left to you. That, what you're feeling is just there's nothing left to you is the current version of you. There's nothing left to that. And that's when the hard shell of the ego starts to crumble and the real you will emerge. That's what happens in life, in nature. There is death, and you can't see the growth that's happening within you, within the earth, and then there's a reemergence. And what eventually emerges is more of your essence. And you will know that this part of you has emerged because you will feel more and more at ease within yourself, regardless what is wrong, what is missing, quote unquote, missing in your life. So if you have been feeling stuck, hurt, challenged, lacking inner peace, I highly encourage you to receive support in helping you to make a shift. And you listen within. What is that next step of support? Because doing so often leads to swifter transformations because we cannot see when we are getting in our own way. It's difficult to see when we're in the fog. But another who has gone through this metamorphosis can support you. And so I would be honored to be one of those that supports you through a free experiential journey to support you to start to recognize where and why energy, especially unprocessed emotions, remains stuck within your energetic being, your body. And it's called the Chakra Reboot. And I'm going to provide a link for it in the show notes so you can sign up right now. So I want you to think of your chakras as like a map to your internal world. Whether or not you've worked with your chakras or not, it does not matter. You can be masterful with your chakras or have never heard of them. And this will be a unique experience because we are really working on this in an embodiment level, mind, body, spirit, and emotion simultaneously to support you to understand your energy so you can fully process fear, hurt, pain, and all these levels. So again, I have the link in the show notes. So sign up now because I only offer this for a limited time. And where I will leave you is that even though you may be experiencing blocks, burnout, or blame, what I know is that you are divine perfection exactly as you are right now. And you are being divinely guided to break through any ego defensive cocoons. So if you know someone that is struggling at this time, please share this episode with them. Support them to work through their blocks, the blame, the burnout. And until next time, know that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to prove, just to remember. I look forward to seeing you soon.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.